Well, welcome to the Block Party. My name is Seth Kushner. We've tried this many times. We are finally going live. Brian Boyle, former Bolt. Welcome to the Block Party, man. All right, you're there. Okay, Brian, I got to tell you, man, I came into the locker room probably 6 or 7 years ago. I was there for a radio station just to ask stupid questions. And I believe I was talking to Stammer. I think your locker was right next to his. And I asked him, who is the rightful heir to the throne on Game of Thrones? And then boom, right out of nowhere, you start going, da 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 da. I was like, oh my God. This, not only were you listening to the interview, I was like, this guy's a Game of Thrones fan. So I want to hit you with the question. Were you happy with the way that the franchise ended?
Not really. I mean, not really.
You weren't?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. It was building up so much. So I don't know how you could finish it in a way that would blow your mind. But I think they kind of split somewhere what was it, season 4 or 5 from kind of George Martin and then the guys kind of doing the show. And there were some things that got a little wonky, I think. I mean, still entertaining. I still watched every single one.
Did you think it was on pace to be one of the greatest shows of all time? And is that why it kind of disappointed you at the end?
I mean, I watched The Office and Friends, and we tried Breaking Bad. I started that, after I was married, and I kind of got the hairy eyeball from the wife. So it was all right, I can't watch this unless. So, I mean, I really started to get into that, but I only got 6 episodes in. And then, so this one, I remember I'm watching it on my iPad on the plane on my honeymoon. And I didn't know what it was. And I just seen all the billboards and stuff. And she looks over to me at one point, and one of the scenes was not for other people to, not for an airplane, I guess. And I got, I got the headphones with the cords, and I'm like, this is crazy. And she hits me, what are you doing? I'm like, you gotta watch the show. She's looking at me like I'm being a perv. I'm like, no, and I didn't even realize I was that much into the show. Normally I'd have we can't watch this now. But it was it took the first 3 seasons. I was like, this is the greatest show I've ever seen. I loved it.
I feel the same, man. I think you're the first person. I've done 63 episodes of the Block Party. I've had everybody on. I think you're the first person that I can actually talk to Game of Thrones about. They announced they're doing, I don't know, prequels, all these things on HBO, and everybody the other day they were tweeting, can't redo season 8, redo the last season. It was terrible, and I enjoyed it. Did you think it was too much the way that Arya killed the White Walkers, or that the way that he killed Khaleesi, or what was it that you didn't like? Because I got to tell you, I love the way they wrapped it up. I thought it was awesome.
Entertaining, but I was okay, I'll give you I was at one point I'm the dragon's gonna be a White Walker. I know the dragon's gonna be a White Walker, and I just started kind of picturing and predicting, and I'm never right with that, and I was right a lot. So then I was I could write this show, and it took a little bit away, and then Jon Snow and he all that, Khaleesi, all that stuff. That was entertaining. It was totally awesome and entertaining. Like I said, I watched every single one, but I hope for a little more. Maybe my expectations were too high, but it just started out with such a bang. I couldn't. Ned Stark, I couldn't believe. I was like, how are they going to have a show? How are they going to have a show now? And then it was the next thing. And then you hated this character for a season or 2 or 3, and then you're all right, I didn't get the whole story there. Maybe it's not so bad, so that was just the coolest part. I thought it was, I didn't really have a time period because there's futuristic stuff. And then it was, medieval. It was just the coolest. I was just blowing my mind constantly.
See, we didn't get to talk about it like this back in the locker room because you heard me talking to Stammer and you were like, I got to get the hell out of here before this nerd starts asking me questions about Game of Thrones right after practice. But that's, first of all, this will be the last thing about it. That's incredible that you saw the Dragon White Walker coming. I didn't see that. That made me cry. I was not ready. I was not prepared for that. So would you talk about this to anybody on the team back in the day? Because I feel still when you try to talk to people about Game of Thrones, they're like, oh, it's dragons. It's all this nerdy stuff. But if they saw, a big dude like you embracing it, who normally watches The Office and Friends, did you turn anybody onto it?
If people were I've never watched Game of Thrones, I would just be I'm so jealous that it's all in front of you, and that's kind of that was my big sell. But there was one season where the guys were a bit ahead of me, and I think they were like, "Don't go on Twitter, don't go on Twitter." Phil Hughes friggin' puts up the spoiler, ruined it because we were waiting until after the season. It was like something my wife and I did when we got home. We kind of binged it for that first week after the season ended, and Phil ruined it. I didn't tell her, so she was fine. But
was it Joffrey? Did he spoil Joffrey?
I can't even. Oh, no, Jon Snow.
Jon Snow.
The first time.
Yeah, right. Before he was whatever he was. All right. Well, I don't want Brian Briesman to cancel this podcast because we talk too much about Game of Thrones. I don't even know if he's into it. If not, he should be. Brian Boyle, what's going on, man? What are you up to these days? And who do you root for when you're watching hockey since you played for so many franchises?
You know, if I can't win a cup, I don't think anyone else should. So, no, it's you know, it's cool to see. You know, it was like not really surprising what Tampa did last year. And that was cool on so many different levels. What Stammer did, that whole story was, I mean, incredible. And I am, as far as I go, you know, I'm in pretty good shape. I've been training for like a million months. It feels like. Wanted to play this year. It was, you know, kind of a wonky year, but I'm not quitting. So, yeah, I'm now starting to like April train for a training camp, and I might be lofty goals having not played this year, but it's that's what I do. That's what I know, and I'm not ready to do anything else. So I'm not really thinking about much else except taking care of the kid and having some great time actually at home with them and seeing them get a little bit bigger. But you know, and training and you know get ready. A lot of hockey took the last couple of weeks. Didn't watch quite as much because I know I'll be watching a ton of the playoffs.
So have you learned anything from not playing this year? I know there were a couple of weeks last year before Florida called you. Has there been anything that you've been able to learn about the game or yourself kind of, you know, taking this year off?
Because, you know, you have to practice. You have to have meetings. You have to have training camps. I think there's a reason that, you know, we do all those things up for all those years. And then you have to be able to, you know, they're all good players, right? Everybody's a good player. Every team could be a good team, I think, in my opinion. You know, some better than others. There's guys who have better years and goaltending and all that. But the part that always made it, you know, more special, or for whatever reason, you know, teams I found more success on was teams that were closer. And you know, just the stories that I've heard of kind of the social aspect of it with the guys. You know, there's so much internally that each player I think puts on themselves, and then externally as well, because you're in the best league in the world. If you don't have an outlet with your buddies, you're just going to the rink and then going home. Like stuff gets hard at home too. Like you have to have your personal life gets difficult too, and then if your whole family's kind of confined, it's just a difficult year. I thought early on it was a bit hard to kind of see the rhythm of the game. It looked a little bit choppy with a lot of different teams. I thought teams that were veteran teams were going to have a better chance, especially out the gate, because they have had more time and more years and to kind of understand a certain way a team should play. Teams that had a lot of guys returning too. I thought all those things were going to kind of show something, and it did. And you see older guys who have had great years at you know 35, 36, 37, just because of how smart they are. They could take advantage of guys that are a bit greener, I guess, and teams that have been together for a while that have, you know, for the most part, I guess aside from Philly, but I thought they were going to be better, but for the most part have done, you know, really well and understand, aside from, you know, figuring out a way to rest, that it's work time when they go to the rink. That's kind of, in terms of how the game's played, it's still the same. It's the same game. It could be a little different here, there are tweaks. It's the same game.
I saw you retweeted something a few months ago, and I've talked to Tyler Johnson and Barclay Goodrow about this, but I'd love your opinion. People said that the Stanley Cup last year wasn't legitimate because it was in a bubble and you can't compare bubble hockey to anything else. I know obviously a lot of people within the game shut that down. Can you just give me your thoughts on that?
Played. No. Played say that? And anybody that had any kind of information about what was going on in that bubble, like you're adding more teams to that bubble. They think the crowd noise and traveling is really that. I mean, both teams have to travel the exact same distance every series. Now, different if it was played now, or if it was played in that format a year prior before the pandemic. Would you have had a different winner? I mean, you could have played it 10 times in a row. You might have had a different winner, might not have. I thought Tampa was the best team all year last year, and they've learned so many lessons along the way that and then you got to go stick them. Okay, say goodbye to your family. You know how hard that was? I think it was like my family left before we had the training camp in Fort Lauderdale. And then, we weren't there very long, and it was crazy hard for me. It was a couple weeks. I don't know, like maybe 3.5 weeks. It's so like, and that's the part that's so difficult, because now it's elevated. It's real playoff hockey. Like that crowd noise, even if you're on the road, you can use that. You love it. It's just more difficult mentally, and it's just as taxing physically, because there's no side. It's just you're walking in the same little path that they formed for you, and you're in and out, and it's just straight hockey, which is fun. But you're used to a certain way of life and living. It's way harder. And then you get to the third round. Say you lose in the third round, you're like, well, you wouldn't have made the third round anyway. They're devastated. They've been there that long. They got nothing to show for it. So it's kind of like, I mean, people that say that just like to stir things up, or they're idiots.
Good answer. Hey, so Brian, what did you think about the Stanley Cup rings that the Lightning got? I know you said nobody can win it if you can't win it, but what do you think of those beauties?
And yeah, what do you expect? It's just that organization down there, Mr. Vinnick, all the way down. It's just they were. I mean, that's why we got this. I got this, poster here that my wife had made for me. Those are great memories. That's a great place to be. I'm not shocked at all that they were. I mean, those things were beautiful, and it's they're taken care of really well, and obviously they earned that. But it's it's I am happy for them as the time's gone by, but of course I am. It's just, what do you expect? That's how the Lightning operate. That's why it's a special place. Players want to go there for that reason, and for the reasons of the fan base down there, how well they're embraced. It's got to be just it's top shelf all the way.
Did you know all this before you signed with the Lightning? Was somebody telling you all these things, or did you find that out when you signed with the Lightning? And what kind of, when you were afraid of, what made you, finally put the pen to paper with Tampa Bay?
As you're playing and I've said this, I think, when I was playing there, it's like you playing in the league, there's other places. How is it there? How is it there? Certain guys are ex-teammates that have played in certain cities, and even before, they were the team that they started to become, that found their stride. And, I got a call like later into the first day of free agency, thinking I was going to have a deal done at noontime, with a couple different teams. Both the teams had made a trade for, a second line center, and bumped kind of their second line center down. And then that deal was kind of off the table. At least those terms were. So we kind of started from scratch. I was in Hawaii, so it wasn't that late for me. Because again, this was on my honeymoon. And I got the call from the agent, and I couldn't believe it, because my wife's from Orlando, and they re-signed or extended Nate Thompson for like 3 or 4 years. So I just thought, there's no chance. And agent called. He said, here it is, 2 years. I go, make it 3 if we can do that, please. And he did. And so then I told my wife, because I was kind of going for a walk, stressing out a little bit. I said, so Tampa sounds like it's going to be the play. Do you want me to even wait for anybody else? And she's just like, do what you got to do. But I knew right away when he sent me that, I got to go find a fax machine at the hotel here on the honeymoon, and spa day can wait for a few.
Hey, that's a great place to stress out of Hawaii. In fact, if you've got the money, I recommend all, I know you're on your honeymoon, but I recommend all, all athletes that are during, the first wave of free agency to go on a vacation or something. I think that's the best way to probably get the news, good or bad, right?
Yeah. If something bad happens and you're already spending this money on vacation, might be, but at least then you go have a pina colada or something, try to calm down.
Hey, listen, I combed your Wikipedia, and I do this I'm not expecting to find any accurate information, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't find anything too inaccurate. And for some reason, this is wedged into your career, and I just found it to be interesting. On April 16th, Boyle engaged in a fight with Mikhail Sergachev. After players were restrained, Boyle told Sergachev, "I'm going to kill you." Do you remember this incident? Do you feel like it should be immortalized on your Wikipedia page forever?
Alan at USA Today has a reason for that. He printed it up and wrote this article when he didn't have the information. So it said, "I'm going to kill you." I told him, "I'm going to get you." I said, "I'm going to get you." And so that was kind of my whole thing. He said some things to me too that I'm not going to say, because that's what you do. It's not like, I'm going to get you. And he said some, I would say, meaner things, but he's Russian. What are you going to do? So he don't know, and that's fine. And I had no, I was mad at the time, but I had no issue with it after the fact. And it says, "I'm going to kill you," and I don't know. I don't think if I said that, I would have no issue with it being on there, but that's not what I said. Then eventually, yeah, he let me fight him, so that was fun. A couple of years down the road.
Are you good with Sergachev now, though? Is everything cool?
Fight him finally. I've been, he gets a little dirty, which is his game. He's effective. He's obviously a great player. He shouldn't have fought me in an exhibition game in the bubble. That was stupid. But the fact that he did, I said, in the box, I think I looked over and said, "That was a long time coming. Thank you for doing that." I mean, not the 2-hand slash on my leg, but I just cross-checked him, right between the shoulder pad and elbow pad before that, and those hurt too. So I was happy he was willing to engage. We were getting, our eyes pumped shut. I think it was 5-0 at the time. So yeah, there's a lot of respect there, tons. I don't know why he did it. If I'm Coop, I'm probably telling him that was not the smartest play. But I'm not a big killer fighting anyway, so he probably thought he was safe.
Hey, now you've played on both sides now, and obviously because of this year, playing the teams, 8 times. Is there a big rivalry between the Panthers and the Lightning, or is that just something that the Lightning try to, read too much into it to the Panthers fans, or is there something actually there?
It's not. I don't think it's where it could be, and I think this might be the year where it kind of sets it off. You have hopefully a playoff series. It's two really exciting teams, and a playoff series with some bad blood, kind of like we had with Detroit a little bit, something like that. That just those memories last, and it'll get the buildings going. I remember going into the Island, even if the Islanders weren't having a good year when I was playing in New York. The crowd and all that, it's just great for the game. It turns the game into something a little bit bigger, and it's an intense atmosphere as a player. It's a good, like, they're dress rehearsals for playoff games, and if you get that rivalry up and running and you start playing these teams and you get these big moments during the season, it's great for both teams to have that little dress rehearsal. I think it's great for the state of Florida and for the fan bases on both sides. I know the Panthers, they're coming along, and obviously now that they're playing the way they are, it's a great place to play as well. I mean, I was lucky I got to play on both teams because there's not a whole lot better than living in Florida playing hockey.
Well said. Brian, I just want to touch on this just briefly. When you came out and announced that you had leukemia, you got a tremendous amount of support around the league. And I find that what's incredible about hockey is that it just seems like the whole league, and they have Hockey Fights Cancer, and it's very beautiful. Was there anybody or any show of support that really stuck with you the most when you were going through that time?
It was so it's every fan base, and I'm not kidding. It was where I hadn't played a game yet, and I got on the ice, and all of a sudden it's calls from different league now, ex-coaches, coaches in the league now. The commissioner called, and then later on, and at the it was like, it was wild. It was a really hard year for us, my family. We were in the middle of a crazy battle that lasted a couple more years with my son, and one of the reasons I'm so proud and lucky to have played in that league with that group of guys. You see it in countless different ways too. Things, bigger than what happened to me. And you saw with Oscar and Philly last year, you saw even little things too, like, even just, I think it was last night or the night before with Ryan Miller and the LA Kings saluting him and his career, things like that, yeah, it can be a barbaric game. The fan bases can get really passionate and say some certain things to certain people, whether it be at the game or on social media now. When somebody needs a lift, somebody needs to be lifted up a little bit. I think the whole fan bases, the whole hockey community does an unbelievable job of doing just crazy to me. League in that regard, something that I thought was special, and then seeing it firsthand like that was outstanding. It was crazy to me, overwhelming sometimes, but just outstanding, fantastic.
So it was mostly from, you would say, just the fan bases that really were the ones that kind of lifted you up, when they would be the first ones that tear you down when you'd show up to an opposing arena. They were there for you.
Do, and you take the good with the bad when you're a player, but that was something that was outside, was different than hockey. And people who, I remember people just who had given it to me the past on Twitter reaching out. Yeah, that Twitter thing was crazy, the amount of people that reached out. But going to arenas and seeing fans after the game, even at the bus, yelling my name, or and then it's strangers who hear a story, they want to offer their support to another stranger, and they do that. And it's humanity at its best in a sport that's probably not always considered as gentlemanly as people want to think it is. Yeah, those times where, and even still, people reach out, and now it's cool because I've gotten to hear some stories, some great success stories, some sad stories about people who have battled, that have reached out and gotten to know a few people just through, again, social media or making hospital visits and stuff like that. It's kind of steered my life in another path too, but it's the reason that things happen for a reason, or I'm of the belief that things happen for a reason. And that's the way. I'm thankful for the journey. I'm thankful for all the ups and certainly the downs too. It's taught me a ton.
Are you happy that you had hockey going on, in your life to kind of distract you from what was going on in your personal life?
Yeah, I'm fortunate, but there was some guilty times because I was leaving my wife in a hospital room with my 4, 5, 6-month-old daughter at the time, and my son who's getting operated on. And thank God for family and friends, because a lot of times they would take the reins. My siblings were extremely my parents, obviously, my in-laws, like it was a team effort. And there were times where I'm like, this is just to play a silly game. And more, there's a lot of reasons why you have to do this, but there's, I got this, I can handle this. And she went through like the ringer. It was insane, which just to allow me to be able to keep playing.
When you were talking about the people that would talk trash to you on Twitter, when you would go to opposing arenas, who gave it to you the worst? And what's the worst thing that you've ever heard somebody shout at you while you were playing, or while you're warming up, or anything like that?
Oh, I got a beer dumped on my head at Barclays when we scored an OT against the Islanders in the playoffs.
Did that piss you off, or did the joy of the goal kind of take that sting away?
No, it kind of still pissed me off because you're behind the glass, and I'd rip your head off if you did that to me somewhere else. So it's still kind of like just a kind of a scumbag move, but it made playing there it was easy to get motivated. And I haven't played for the Islanders. I played for the Rangers. I played for Tampa when we played them in a playoff series. We played them last year in the bubble, which was different, but I heard it a little bit in the bubble again. Scored a goal on them, but they beat us. But there's just, those fans got under my skin a little bit. but I mean, for whatever reason, I thought I played pretty well against them too. So maybe that was a key ingredient. So I appreciate it. I understand. Thank you.
That's great, Harry. Like, listen, I'll kick your ass if you did that to me, anywhere, but you're at the rink, you're behind the glass for a reason. Brian, I just want to get your opinion. Let's say that you were suiting up for another team right now. You're getting ready to play the Lightning. It's playoff time. Boom. All of a sudden, Steven Stamkos rejoins the team. Nikita Kucherov rejoins the team. What's that like just for opposing teams to see these two superstars about to join the Lightning who have been playing extremely well for the most part all season long?
Before the playoff series would start, you'd scout the whole team and you would certainly look at those two and understand that they're going to come back and play. And if they don't, they don't, but you're ready for them. And you know who they are. I don't think they're going to surprise anybody. They have, but there's just not a lot of holes. There really isn't a lot of holes. So you just, at that point, you figure out a game plan, try to understand some tendencies that they do and try to see what has worked against them, other teams that have had success, which the last couple of years there hasn't been many, and you try to execute it. It's playoffs are always about what you do, I think, as a team, as a player, and that's the best way for them. I mean, they've been through it. They know, they've seen both sides of it. They've been close. They've been, obviously I think they got embarrassed one year with Columbus. They got close. And then obviously last year. It was an incredible run they had. It was fantastic to watch. Trying to calm down from not winning myself, but yeah, it's that would be my approach, but who knows? No one really listens to me about that anyway.
Well, listen, I did. I'm sending that scouting report to nobody because I need nobody to beat the Lightning. Brian, I just want to let you know I really appreciate it. I know that we had some scheduling issues today. I'm supposed to be in a parent teacher conference right now about my 3-year-old daughter, but you know what? My wife's handling that because you are a priority. The only thing is that if my daughter turns out to be a miscreant later on down the road, I'll need you to come talk to her, scare her, something like that. Just promise me. That's all I'm asking from this interview today.
Anyways, this is better. Yeah, we had a little snag in our schedule too. I'm sorry, but I appreciate you fitting me in now.
No, you're all good. I'm very flexible with that stuff. That's what the wife's for. So she'll give me the feedback and then I'll be the boss about it and see what direction we need to go with our daughter. But I'm sure at 3 years old, she can't be too bad at school. She's the caboose this week. That's her job of the week. Brian, thank you so much, man. I hope that you continue your career. I hope it's in Tampa Bay. I hope they give you a call for next year, man. And thank you so much. And I hope we get to do this again, man. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.